Welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to completely shatter a massively outdated myth. The idea that vitamin D is just some simple bone-building nutrient you get from a glass of milk. Yeah, it's so much more than that. The latest clinical research actually tells a completely different, multi-systematic story, and we're going to break it all down.
So, let's dive right in by asking a pretty critical question about a silent, global health crisis. And honestly, it's one that might be affecting you right now, no matter where you live. We are talking about a staggering 1 billion people worldwide suffering from vitamin D deficiency. Literally a billion of us. This isn't just a minor gap in our diets, it's a full-blown pandemic of modern indoor living. I mean, think about it. We evolved under the open sun, but today we spend roughly 90% of our time inside boxes, completely cutting ourselves off from the solar radiation our bodies desperately need.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll cover 1. The global vitamin pandemic, 2. Bones, brains, and immunity, 3. The latitude and melanin paradox, 4. The D2 versus D3 debate, 5. Babies, diets, and fortification, and finally, 6. Safe dosing and toxicity.
Section 1. The global vitamin pandemic. Let's kick things off by reframing what this molecule actually is. Because honestly, calling it a vitamin is a massive understatement that really doesn't do justice to what's happening inside your cells.
The absolutely crucial point here is that vitamin D acts as a powerful systemic hormone. Technically, it's a secosteroid prohormone. Unlike your traditional vitamins that basically just act as little enzymatic helpers, this molecule binds to the vitamin D receptor, which is found in practically every tissue in your entire body. It's like a master switch, literally turning on and off anywhere from 200 to 900 different genes.
It's incredible to trace the multi-organ journey this single molecule takes just to become an active, life-sustaining hormone. It starts right in your skin, where UVB radiation from the sun breaks down a precursor called 7-DHC. But that's just step 1. It then has to travel to your liver for its first activation into calcidiol, and then finally hits your kidneys, where it's converted into the active hormone, calcitriol. If any part of this biological factory shuts down, well, we run into some major problems.
Moving on to Section 2, Bones, Brains, and Immunity. Now that we know how it's made and just how powerful it is, let's look at what actually happens when this system breaks down.
Historically, medicine mostly focused on the skeletal system. In kids, a deficiency causes growing bones to literally soften, leading to rickets, which shows up as bowed legs and delayed walking. In adults, it manifests as osteomalacia. Think dull bone pain and muscle weakness. And for older adults, it absolutely accelerates osteoporosis. But the impact goes far, far beyond just our bones.
Moving to the brain, emerging research, like the recent findings in the Rahima Journal, highlights a profound connection to neuropsychiatric health. Your brain is actually a major target organ for vitamin D. It's heavily involved in mood regulation, executive function, and even how we process social situations.
The biology here is absolutely fascinating. Without the active vitamin D hormone, your brain literally struggles to produce serotonin. It acts as a direct activator for the TPH2 gene. So no vitamin D means less serotonin, and without enough serotonin, your brain is highly vulnerable to depression, anxiety, and seasonal affective disorder.
And then there's your immune system. Vitamin D is the ultimate immunomodulator. It's almost like a dual-action system. On one hand, it hits the gas on your innate immunity, your first responders, boosting antimicrobial peptides that neutralize bacteria and viruses. But on the other hand, it acts as a crucial braking system for your adaptive immunity, stopping your body from attacking its own tissues. This is huge for protecting against autoimmune diseases like multiple sclerosis and type 1 diabetes.
Because it affects literally so many different systems, you've really got to pay attention to the unexpected warning signs. Your body might be whispering about a deficiency long before your bones start screaming. So things like chronic fatigue that just won't go away with sleep, unusually slow wound healing, unexplained hair loss, and even weak tooth enamel, those can all be early red flags.
Section 3. The latitude and melanin paradox. So, if this hormone is so incredibly vital, why are a billion of us deficient globally?
Well, if you live north of the 37th parallel, think cities like New York, Paris, or Tokyo, you have to endure what's called a vitamin D winter. For months at a time, the sun's angle in the sky is just too low. The UVB rays basically bounce right off the Earth's atmosphere, making skin synthesis physically impossible no matter how much time you spend outside.
Now combine this geographic hurdle with melanin. Melanin is an incredible biological adaptation. It beautifully protects the skin against UV damage, acting kind of like a natural SPF 15. But because it filters out those exact UV rays, it takes highly pigmented skin 3 to 6 times longer to synthesize the same amount of vitamin D as lighter skin. This biological reality creates massive systemic health disparities in communities of color, particularly in those northern latitudes.
Section 4. The D2 versus D3 debate. So, when natural sun exposure fails us during the winter, or just because of our indoor lifestyles, we obviously turn to supplements. But science shows a massive difference in which type you should actually be taking.
Historically, the medical community kind of treated vitamin D2 and D3 as equals, but the data now definitively proves that D3, cholecalciferol, is vastly superior. D3 has a much higher binding affinity to your carrier proteins, which basically means it stays in your bloodstream way longer. Plus, your liver enzymes naturally prefer D3 for that crucial first step of activation.
To put that into perspective, a recent 12-week clinical trial perfectly captures this supplement showdown. During the winter, folks consuming D3 saw a massive 75% increase in their blood serum levels. Meanwhile, the people taking D2 only saw a 34% increase. So D3 is proven to be literally twice as effective at actually raising your clinical status. It's a real game changer.
Section 5. Babies, diets, and fortification. Knowing the right supplement form is great, but let's apply this knowledge to our most vulnerable populations and our everyday diets.
Here is a really critical takeaway, especially for parents. Nature is amazing, right? But breast milk is notoriously deficient in vitamin D. Because of this, proactive supplementation of 400 international units every single day for exclusively breastfed babies is an absolute must to prevent pediatric rickets. Older toddlers need about 600 IU, and they can get that from fortified cow's milk, which is strictly for after 12 months, and from natural sources like salmon or canned tuna.
Furthermore, there's the obesity sequestration effect to consider. Your body mass index is a major response modifier here. Because vitamin D is fat-soluble, it can actually get trapped inside adipose, or fat, tissue. The clinical literature shows that individuals with a BMI over 25 literally sequester the vitamin away from their circulating blood. This means they might need supplement doses 2 to 3 times higher than leaner individuals just to achieve the exact same health benefits.
Section 6. Safe dosing and toxicity. Now, before you run to the vitamin cabinet and start taking mega doses, let's talk about the clinical gold standards for testing and the very real dangers of overdoing it.
Because when it comes to hormones, more is definitely not always better. You want to aim for a sweet spot of sufficiency, usually around 30 to 50 nanograms per milliliter on a standard blood test. Severe deficiency drops you below 12, which wrecks your bones and your immune system. But if you push your levels way past 150 through excessive supplementation, you trigger toxicity. That leads to dangerous hypercalcemia, which can cause kidney stones and severe cognitive confusion. You definitely want to avoid that. We evolved to thrive under the sun, but our modern world keeps us living, working, and playing in indoor boxes. This massive evolutionary mismatch leaves you with one vital, incredibly important question to ask your doctor at your next checkup. Do you actually know what your levels are today? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I hope this sheds some much-needed sunlight on a truly fascinating topic.